Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back in once again to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom Fantasy Football Podcast, where I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and joining me this week, Mitch, can I have some more, please, Black, and our sponsor? That's right, not the producer, but our sponsor, Chris the Law Lee. Say hello to all the Delvers out there, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Chris, you sound like I got something in your throat there, buddy, but yeah.
It's Chris being attacked.
Slightly different triumvirate here this week. No Vincenzo had to record on a different day, so he couldn't make it, but wanted to bring an alternative perspective and hope you all enjoy it. So, gentlemen, how's it going?
It's going.
Yeah, we're here, right?
Yeah,
you know.
we are here. Yeah, so like I mentioned last week, no more Olympics. We're kind of in the off season, not a ton going on, and then some stuff happened today. So we'll talk NFL free agency news, what has happened, what is expected to happen, what we hope will happen, and kind of go from there. So we'll start with the big story of the day because I know it's fresh on your mind, Mitch. Your boy, DJ Moore, gone to the Bills to be the number one wide receiver, and as we all know, every time the Bills trade for number one wide receiver, it turns out to be gold, just like Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs and Keon Coleman. That they've all been perfect. So, Mitch, how excited are you to draft DJ Moore next season?
Oh man, not. I mean, the good news is he'll probably go way too high in fantasy value than I'm willing to spend on him. So be one of those players that's like taken out of my hands or whatever. I don't have to make the decision. So I'm not too worried. This is going to be one of those guys who's going to climb steadily for the next 6 months all the way up until draft day. He's going to keep climbing in draft boards. He's also going to be the type of guy that everyone's like, oh, his ADP says like 38, but we all know someone's going to target him way earlier than that. You know what I mean? It's one of those players.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those players that someone's going to be a believer. It's clearly not going to
Right.
be you. I don't think it's going to be me either. Chris, do you think you'll be a believer?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not going to be us, but there's going to be someone out there who reads some reports during training camp that DJ Moore and Josh Allen worked together in the offseason and they've built a rapport and that he's going to be the guy and they're going to go out and get him. There's going to be someone who's like, well, the only reason DJ Moore didn't thrive for the Bears is because they schemed things for Odunze and he was the decoy, just like, Jameson Williams was the decoy for Amon-Ra, blah, 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 blah. They're going to come up with whatever logic they need to reach for him, because I agree, like he's not a guy that I'm gonna go after, because I think Josh Allen's one of those guys who's just gonna put up numbers, and it's not because of who his wide receivers are. There's a lot of quarterbacks who are like tied to their wide receiver, but when you consider the running quarterbacks, like look at the premier running quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, like the thing they have in common is neither of them make wide receiver ones. They put up their numbers, but they don't make a wide receiver one. No one's out here starting Zay Flowers as their wide receiver one. No one's out here, starting any Bill as a wide receiver one in the past few years. Like the running quarterbacks that make their bread and butter doing both, they don't typically make a wide receiver one. They can, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, that hasn't been their MO.
Here's the thing that's going to hook, line, and bait a lot of people, Alex, and this is what's probably going to get me too, and why I'm happy that he's going to get drafted too high to where I don't have to consider him. Is Joe Brady was the play caller and head coach for Carolina in 2020, 2019, 20, and 21 before he got moved on. Guess who was number fourth fantasy wide receiver that year?
Does his name start with a D and end with a J Moore?
And ends with a Moore, yeah. And then DJ Moore goes off on his routes, his career, and Joe Brady goes his. Now they've reunited where Joe Brady is the play caller. Yes, they did hire Pete Carmichael, who is a 15-year veteran with Sean Payton, but I don't know how much Carmichael is going to be play calling. It's obviously, Brady just got the job, right? He took over for McDermott, so it's going to be a lot of responsibility on Brady. This is that sucker in me. It's like, is he like he went out and got DJ Moore for a second round pick, and they're paying for most of that contract. People don't realize this wasn't a straight up trade. The Bills are going to be paying for, I think it's like 80, 15 of 23. What's the math behind that? What percentage of the salary is that? That's a huge portion that the
Roughly
Bears
60.
only. Yeah, thank
65.
you. So the Bears are only going to have to pay, $7 million, and they free up 23 on the year or whatever. So, or sorry, 18 of the 23. Sorry. So, that's a huge thing for the Bears who don't really need DJ Moore, might need, defensive players. Whereas, so it's like this was targeted. And also at the same time, if you believe any of the stuff that I've been reading for the last couple of weeks, that AJ Brown was dead solid done and deal to the Bills. So apparently the Patriots might have come in and overbidded, and that's why they settled on DJ Moore. But this is absolutely targeted. When players are targeted by first year head coaches, it's a positive flag. It's a positive indication of like what's here to come. Like if he didn't think he could use DJ Moore, he wouldn't have spent 18 million on DJ Moore. He would have been like, okay, we did Keon Coleman, a first round pick. We just gave up a second round pick for DJ Moore. So basically, we gave up less than what we had to use to draft Keon Coleman and probably have a better wide receiver. Saying all that, Josh Allen's never created a number one fantasy wide receiver. So it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like everything says that this is the stars are aligning, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's like it's going to be very interesting. Can I, if I read you some wide receivers next year, like tell me when to stop. You know what I mean? Like, hold on, it's loading. I just had to apologize. But like, you're obviously not going to drop them above the top guys, right? The top wide receivers. But let me just start somewhere, right? It's loading. I'm buying time. Okay, right here. Are you drafting DJ Moore or T. Higgins next year?
I mean, assuming that T. Higgins is a Bengal and he is
Yes, let's just
healthy,
say the draft is tomorrow. Yeah, let's just say it's tomorrow. Our fantasy draft's tomorrow.
then yeah,
Are you taking
I'm
T.
taking T.
Higgins,
Higgins
Chris,
Going Higgins.
McConkey, or Moore?
because he burned me last year. I might be willing to go more, but I think the correct pick is McConkey.
Chris?
I that's a coin toss for me.
Yeah, that one's
Uh,
trickier based on last
Brian
year.
Thomas Jr. or DJ Moore?
Who's BTJ's quarterback?
That's hard. The what's his name? The guy who did well.
Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence.
Because
Yes,
he
thank
didn't throw to Brian Thomas Jr.
you. He's gonna be the QB, but yeah, Trevor Lawrence or DJ Moore.
I mean, I guess in that scenario, I go DJ Moore. That's the first one that I'd probably go DJ Moore legitimately, just because like not that I have doubts about Brian Thomas Jr. It's just they don't throw the ball to him. Trevor Lawrence doesn't,
Yeah.
and now he's got Jacoby Myers and Travis Hunter.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I have PTSD from BTJ.
Okay. How about Mike Evans or DJ Moore?
Mike Evans wherever he plays.
Mike Evans. And like that's the thing that like so Mike Evans, where does he get drafted, right? Like he always kind of sneaks into the later not the later round, but like later in the early rounds.
Yeah.
And like it just depends on where DJ Moore is going, right?
Exactly, but that's what
So
I'm
to
saying
me,
is, yeah. But
go,
I mean, this is
go
going to be
ahead.
your pick. No, this is going to be your pick. Like, unless you consider DJ Moore above Drake London, Amon Ra, Drake London, Neighbors, Nico, Jefferson, Lamb, Chase, they'll all be gone. So the next group is the guys, oh, and Jackson Smith Majiga. Sorry, I forgot him. But the next group is going to be Higgins, Evans, McConkey, Sutton. Do you take Sutton or DJ Moore?
I take Sutton, but I'm higher on Sutton than
Yeah.
most people.
McMillan or
So
DJ
you're
Moore?
I like Tet.
did you who was it, Mitch?
McMillan or DJ Moore?
DJ Moore.
Pickens or DJ Moore?
I like how the only times we haven't picked the other guy is when you name players who are on our roster this season.
That's true. I'm not doing that. I'm literally just naming the next
I
10
know, but I'm
guys.
just saying, like, the two guys you named that were on Chris's roster, he picked DJ Moore. The guy you named that was on my roster, I picked DJ Moore.
And to round it out at the end, we're only at wide receiver 17, guys. So 17 through 24 is going to go McMillan, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jamison Williams, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Stop me if any of those guys are you taking DJ Moore above any of those. You know what I mean? Like,
I would take him over Waddle depending on who the quarterback is, but assuming it's not Tua, I'm not taking Waddle.
but that's the interesting part. Is I'm trying to say is DJ
Yeah.
Moore is going to be in that group, and there's
No, he
going to be
will.
someone in our fantasy group that's going to be like, I like the upside of Moore better than Tedero McMillan. You know what I
No,
mean?
for sure, but
Yeah,
I
because
think...
well,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, you look at Moore and now he's on the Bills, right? And it's like there's also the allure of having a wide receiver on what is going to be perceived as a good team.
Right, but for me personally, that there's also, like, he's going to be entering into his ninth season, which, like, I get that, he's like not a running back or something, but like wide receivers need to be young and quick. And he's in his 9th season, which is getting up there as far as like seasons go. And if you look at his production, right? So in the last 3 years with the Bears, his first season was his best season. The next year, he actually had more targets and catches, but his yards plummeted with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams took a step up this year, and even with Caleb Williams' step up, his targets and yardage decreased significantly with what is considered to be a better offensive play caller. And like, yes, it could have been the scheme and whatnot. Like, I get that, but it always concerns me when a guy who's getting up there in age has his production go down.
True. He is
Agreed.
28, turning 29.
I mean, look at Stephon Diggs' numbers when he was a Bill. And are we saying that DJ Moore can match that? I don't see it.
Well, and I mean, it's also worth noting, there's another thing I was going to point out, that Stephon Diggs is also going to be a free agent. He's being released. So, he'll be out there for somebody to grab.
Yeah, look at those numbers he was putting up in Buffalo.
Yeah, they were monster numbers, absolutely monster numbers.
Yeah, and I don't see DJ Moore doing the same thing.
Right. I don't see DJ Moore becoming a top 6 fantasy wide receiver like Diggs was for a while because Diggs was being drafted in that top 4 or 5. So I excluded all those guys. But as Chris, as you were saying, that now he enters the Evans range where he can go anywhere as early second or middle of the fourth. It just depends on how people are valuing wide receivers in those rounds. So that's
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying is
mean,
DJ Moore is going to go in that area, I feel like.
that makes sense. Like it's to me, it's like the tier 1.5, right? And
Right.
it's like, is this guy going to be like a number two, or like or can he go either way in terms of like, is he going to perform more like a wide receiver 3 or like closer to a wide receiver 1? I don't really see him performing closer to a wide receiver 1, so I don't see that much upside on him.
I just think it's going to be one of those situations where someone either reaches for him and he doesn't hit that peak, or no one's willing to reach for him. He falls, and then someone just says, "All right, well, I'm going to take him because he's low enough," and he's going to like overperform. I think it's going to be one of those two. I don't think it's going to be like, yeah, I drafted him to be wide receiver 25 and he's wide receiver 25. I think it's going to
Right.
be, I drafted him to be wide receiver 12 and ended up being wide receiver 20, or I drafted him to be wide receiver 20 and ended up being wide receiver 12. I think it's going to be one of those two things.
Yeah,
I
so
think
if
you
you
guys are right though. In like just the name and then him being on the Bills, I think someone's going to reach.
Well, yeah, so 2022, Stephon Diggs was the number 4 fantasy wide receiver. 2021, Stephon Diggs was number 6 fantasy wide receiver. So I'm not trying to say he's that, but I'm trying to say is he's just right below that. And so yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, if he can enter Stephon Diggs range, it's gonna be one of the best steals in the draft.
Yeah, but I mean, Diggs was putting up numbers in Minnesota, and that was with who? Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is, I hate to, as much as it pains me to say, it can produce fantasy relevant players. So it's not too far off. But yeah, the years of Diggs when he put up these numbers was 27, 28. So it's kind of interesting to me. This would be one of those things where it's like you have to know, is DJ Moore really that guy? And he did it on a Carolina Panthers team with, who was his quarterback again? Dalton? No, I forget. Who was it 4 years ago? I forget. It was someone terrible. But it was before
There was like a
the.
Baker season. Yeah, there are a bunch of random seasons, but also like it's also worth noting that they didn't have anyone else, right? Like
True. True.
that's the other thing is like and yes, you could say the Bills don't have anyone else, but the thing is the Bills utilize their running back James Cook, which we saw this year more than ever. Like the last two
Yeah.
seasons, they've really used James Cook. They also really used their tight ends, both of them. So a team
Yeah.
that's all about 2 tight ends and a running back has less volume to go to a wide receiver. I don't like yes, I think if you take DJ Moore and you put him on the Bills offense in 2021, 2022 in place of Stephon Diggs, I think he probably
Yeah.
does produce at that high level. But the Bills don't run that offense anymore. They don't have those same pieces. They're built a different way offensively. So, do I think he will I think he's going to be a 1,000-yard 5 TD guy, and that's great, but that's not what you're going to draft him as. I think you're going to draft him as a 1,300-yard 8 TD guy, and you're going to be disappointed. Or you're going to draft him to be a 800-yard 2 TD guy, and you're going to be excited about what he does. I don't know which one that is. It sounds like all of us personally are hesitant, but there's absolutely a world where he overperforms and we're all eating crow, right? But just
Yeah.
based on your past experience and what what we've seen, that's the way we're going. So
for
let's
sure.
let's let's try to flip it over here to Stephon Diggs since I've got him up on screen. He's going to be a free agent. Where do you see him landing? Because like yes, he is older. He's going into his 12th season, but he just came off a 1,000 yard season, right? In fact, he has had would have been 9 consecutive 1,000 yard seasons. The only one he didn't hit 1,000 was where he got hurt. Right, it's the only time in his whole career he's had a significant injury, and he was on pace. He was at 500 yards after only 8 games. So like, had he not gotten hurt, he would have hit 1,000 yards. So like, this is a guy who like, you set it and forget it for 1,000 yards. Surely there's a team out there that wants him. So what team do you think is willing to take him, and do you think he has the potential to be a star player again, or is he too old or has too many attitude issues?
Chris?
You can take this one. I have no opinions on this. Uneducated
Diggs.
The
opinions.
the team that
Diggs
went to the
is
Super Bowl, he was their best wide receiver, and they let him go. So it's like clearly like there's something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he set this up with his agent. They've set it up, especially with the construct of the contract that they will agree to sign, is they're allowing teams to cut and release him because Diggs is ring chasing. It's very apparent. He's basically all but said, I'm ring chasing at the end of my career for these last couple of years. So when he signed with the Patriots, that contract was set up for him to leave at any time. Granted, no one thought the Patriots were going to do as well as they did. And it was supposed to be more of like a 2 year program or 2 year what's the word, idea or plan or whatever. Well, apparently with his off-field issues, it cut him out of New England. I don't think if he had the off-field issues, this is coming from sources that I don't talk to, obviously, so it's podcasts that I listen to and stuff. But like, it was supposed to be a multi-year plan. The Patriots were just ahead of schedule, getting to the Super Bowl, obviously. Well, they think now they can go and get one of these free agents for the same money that Diggs is going to cost, and it will be better for locker room for Drake May and them. So I think ultimately it was his off-field antics that got him cut. So saying that, someone who needs a last piece of the puzzle, wide receiver, that's where Diggs will go come when's mini camps? June, early June. That's when he'll sign. And my guess, I hate to say something like this, but it's got like the Chiefs written all over it. It really does. It just has some last ditch contender. I would say if the Rams didn't have Devontae Adams, they would definitely do it, especially with the McDuffie trade that just happened. So it's help me out here. Who's a contender that's just so close? It's gonna be like a Broncos or someone that they just need one little wide receiver to help them out for 6 months, and that's it. That's where he'll
or
go.
like a Ravens. I guess
Thank you. The
yeah.
Ravens is a much better example. I should have said the Ravens.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's we talked about the off field issues. Like it's really telling, by the way, that you know he plays 1 year in Houston, they don't have him back. He plays 1 year in New England, they don't have him back. Buffalo is clearly in the market for a receiver and willing to eat the contract because, as you said, they're eating 2/3 of the contract for DJ Moore, and they didn't go sign a guy out of free agency. They wouldn't have to trade anything for, right? They were willing to
Correct.
give up draft capital and pay the contract for DJ Moore, and they weren't willing to pay Stephon Diggs and not give up draft capital. That kind of tells me that like he's enough of a locker room issue. The last 3 teams you're on don't want you. It's hard to think of a legitimate contender that wants to bring in a problem person.
That's why it's like it's got to be someone like who has clout, like a Lamar or a Mahomes, to
The
where if he
problem is
does,
the coach
yeah,
there doesn't have clout, right? If Harbaugh was
sure.
still there, maybe they could do
Read.
it. But
Yeah, it's like how
you're
you gonna
gonna
come
have
in
a
and talk
first
back to
year head
Reed.
coach. Is a first year head coach really wanting to put up with that headache?
Yeah, but I mean, if you come in, how are you going to talk back to like McDaniel's and an Arbaugh not San Diego and the Charger? You know what I mean? It's like it's got to be like that. You know what I mean? Where it's going to come in, it's like you're going to shut your mouth for 6 months and just catch the ball.
Well, let me throw this one out to you. Assuming that the Eagles really do deal AJ Brown, is the Eagles a potential landing spot as the replacement to AJ Brown?
That would be such a headache. Just keep AJ Brown. Are they? I mean, I don't know. Like Howie Roseman does a lot better than I would ever do, but that just seems crazy to me.
I mean, it was smart. I was asking if it was an option.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I think they need to move into. I think they can get rid of it and feature Devontae Smith and just have some sufficient number two and feature Jalen Hurts a little bit more. I don't think. Don't get me wrong, AJ Brown's still one of the top receivers in the league individually, but you don't need to go out and pay someone like Diggs and then just have another headache. It's like take a year off from a headache from wide receivers, Eagles. You don't. You know what I mean? Take a year off. It's fine. You could go a year without having drama.
Chris, any thoughts?
No, no. I wish the best for Stephon Diggs.
the uh the whole thing with the baby mama on the sidelines and Cardi being there and seeing him, that whole part is just way too much for an NFL GM who's probably in his 60s or later to wrap his mind as a white GM. It's probably extremely hard for him to wrap his mind around on why this is happening on the sideline. Not to mention the boating incident where they got caught with Flacco, whatever you want to call it, all that stuff. But here's a fun one before we get into the McDuffie trade, Alex. Um, Speaking of trades and stuff in the NFL, before we get into McDuffie to the Rams, I don't know how this came up on my feed, but it just came up and I want to share it, okay?
Okay.
In 1973, this is a true story, and I actually spent an hour and a half reading about it while I was at the gym because I could not get over how insane this story is, okay? In 1973, Yankees pitcher Fritz Peterson and Indians pitcher Mike Kekich, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, Kekich, announced that they got traded. But they didn't just trade teams, they legitimately traded wives and children. I'm not kidding around, Alex.
What?
They switched wives and children after being traded. Now, a little spoiler, one of them just died in 2024, and that person stayed with that wife and those kids since 1973.
Oh my God.
The other one, Fritz Patterson, and his new wife and children ended up splitting after a couple of years.
Out of curiosity, was that like actually written in the contract, part of the wife and kid swap, or?
That's the crazy part as I'm trying to read is like apparently a year before they had already kind of liked each other's wives and then like instigated this trade to happen between their franchises. And it was like basically we weren't being traded, we're trading. So then like when they traded Alex, like the families and the wives stayed, but got the new husband because they switched teams, right? So then the other guy goes from Cleveland to New York, and that guy's wife and children stayed in New York, and he has a new wife and kids. I'm not making this up. And no joke, it's the funniest thing when you read. It's like, hey, Mr. Patterson, that comes in because like a year before, apparently they were into each other's wives. So it's like, oh, Mr. Patterson used to come and hang out. Like, well, yeah, now you call him Dad.
Oh man. Yeah,
I mean,
you gotta do. So, look, some of these trade deals, sometimes you gotta do what it takes to get done. I mean, Chris, you're all about contracts as a lawyer. I mean, sometimes you gotta grease the wheels, as it were.
Peterson and
Yeah,
Suzanne
like,
stayed together, married in 1974, remaining until his death in 2024. The other guy is still alive.
Hey, Mitch, I was
by
told
the
you
way,
first there, bro. Go ahead.
We
that's
could
also
go back.
something that
Yeah.
that's only something that happens in a world without social media. Can you imagine?
Oh yeah, they would have gotten eaten alive today.
Oh my God, could you imagine just even the thought of that? Like, could you imagine being one of the children? And now one of them's dead, right? And the other one's still alive. And it's like, so now my original wife that I was married in 1973 that I swapped with is now a widow with my children. And I'm not married to the girl I swapped with. And those children don't really talk to me. So I could maybe try and go back. I'm telling you, you couldn't make this up. It's the greatest story ever. All right, we can move on back to McDuffie and the Rams now. But I don't know how that link came up when I was reading about McDuffie, and I was like, wow, my algorithm knows me way too well.
I mean, I don't think anyone was even talking about McDuffie. You just started
Oh, you brought
making
it
this
up on the
parallel.
screen. Sorry, I
Oh
was looking
yeah.
at your screen because yeah,
Yeah,
you clicked off
well,
of it and you went to McDuffie.
before we go to the McDuffie trade, I want to talk a little more free agency. We're going to talk franchise tags. Um, so, couple of, I guess there's three I want to talk about. So first is we'll just go with the Bengals not using the franchise tag on Hendrickson. He had a bad year. I mean, he was injured, but he came off 2 years in a row as a sack leader. This year, he kind of had a bad year, but again, part of that's due to injury. And now he's going to be a free agent. So, do you think that was the right call by them to let him walk? And who do you think is a likely landing spot for a guy who is potentially an all-star defensive end?
But who did you say again? I apologize. Who?
Trey Hendrickson, the defensive
Oh
end for the
yeah,
Bengals.
they ended up just. I apologize. They ended up just cutting him.
Well, no, they didn't tag him, which means he'll be a
Yeah.
free agent.
Oh, gotcha. Maybe they're too far away from winning now, so they didn't want to pay him the long term. I don't know. They've done him pretty dirty though. And the thing that gets me, and I said this on the podcast many, many months ago, is like the guy who owns the team, Bidwell or whatever, he's like 88 years old or whatever. Could you imagine negotiating a multi-million dollar contract with a guy who's like 88 years old and is just like, and he told Hendrickson last in the offseason to like not be so emotional about this negotiation or something like that. So I don't know. They need new ownership. They're in a lot of that's yeah, they need a new GM, new ownership. Trickles down.
Okay, that's great. My question was, where do you think he ends up?
Anyone who could afford him, he's going to be so expensive. I feel like there's only going to be 6 or 7 teams that could
I
literally
don't know.
afford
You
that
might get
contract.
him at a little more of a discount because of because of the fact he was injured and didn't have a great year this year. It'd be different,
Um,
if it was last year.
yeah, the problem with those players a lot of times is you pay for past achievements. That's the
Uh,
problem. I'm gonna be real honest with you right here. It looks like the team I typed in teams with the most potential cap room to suit Hendrickson, and it looks like it's gonna be the Bucks or the Colts. That would be interesting.
Hmm. The Colts would be interesting. I think there's still sort of a win now mentality.
Yeah, agreed. And the Bucks aren't that far off either, in my opinion,
Yeah.
especially. Yeah.
all right. Well,
Yeah,
then,
the
go
Colts,
ahead.
that's very interesting that they do go to the Colts. I mean, the Colts already, in my opinion, have one of the best rosters from top to bottom. So,
Well, let's jump to the Colts then, because speaking of franchise tag, they've used a franchise tag. However, they use the transition tag on Daniel Jones. So what that means is another team can come in and make him an offer, but then they have the right to match.
right.
So they're basically doing this to try to like keep him
Get the
without
most
having to pay
amount.
him, a huge amount of
Yeah.
money. So the question, I guess, is do you think someone is going to come in and kind of, rain on their parade by making Daniel Jones an offer and forcing them to match? Is anyone going to be willing to play salary cap chicken, basically?
Uh, that's interesting. That's probably closed behind doors talks that we're not getting privy to. If I had to guess, it would probably be there aren't many suitors for Daniel Jones because if I had to guess, even though he had a great year last year, I think scouts and GMs already have their mind made up of the cat or the ceiling for Daniel Jones, and we saw what that was last summer. Granted, he did do a lot better this year and definitely boosted his, stock or whatever you want to say it. But I think teams that would have already made that decision last year. Now you're
Right,
gonna
but
have to go
but
out
what
and
I'm saying though,
overpay
Mitch, hold
for
on,
him.
just real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, but what I'm
Oh, you're
saying
good.
is, I mean, two things. One is, that he was improved, and there this is a really bad quarterback market, so there might be a team willing to take a risk. But two, more what I was going for is there someone who's willing to make a bid that doesn't really want him just to force the Colts to pay?
Mm.
Uh, who's the other three teams in their division? I don't, I don't know. The
That
the yeah, sorry.
that's a ballsy move though,
It
because
is. It is.
if the Colts decide not to pay, you end up with Daniel Jones.
Right. Well, I'm not saying that the Ravens should do it with Lamar Jackson, right? But like,
Yeah,
there's teams out there that don't have a quarterback right now, who,
yeah.
who could just say, "F it, we'll throw out a bid." They're not gonna let us have him. If they do, then we'll roll with Daniel Jones. You know what I mean? Like
Wait,
the
Listen,
just re
I'm
Cardinals,
I'm
for
I'm
example,
with I'm
right?
with Mitch.
Like the
I was
Cardinals don't have a
about to say
quarterback.
I'm with Mitch here in that despite his good play this season, I don't think that a ton of teams are that high up on him. Having said that, if the Cardinals did that, I would not be mad.
Well,
yeah. So I don't
that's what
want
I'm
to
saying,
ask
right?
this.
Because like the only free agents right now, right, are like who are the best free agents on the market? There's Malik Willis.
Who's
There's
going to cost around the same for three
there's
years?
Daniel Jones, and then there's Kyler Murray, and that's it.
No, there's a couple more. There's Kirk Cousins. There's Tua who's going to be free soon here. There's
Okay, sure. I mean, it's a weak class, is what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, okay,
Hmm.
so hear me out. And this is probably not the best question to ask for a Cardinal fan and Chris, but like 35, 37 million, would you rather have, because that's what Malik Willis is demanding right now. I think the reason the QB carousel is going to start with Domino is going to start. It used to be, it started with Rodgers for the last 5 years and then a carousel, but now Rodgers is so old, he's at the last of the carousel. Now the top of the carousel is Malik Willis. So wherever Malik goes, it's going to be for 35 to 40, somewhere in there over a 3 year deal. So it's like, do you want Malik Willis, Daniel Jones, or Kyler Murray? Because they're all going to be the same price.
Indiana
Or Kirk
Jones.
Cousins.
I'll take Kirky.
Because
I
they're all
mean,
going to be the same around 30, 35, 37.
yeah, but
What do
I
you like?
think
their
Daniel
ages are
Jones
very
or
different.
Kirk
But yeah,
Cousins.
See what, Alex?
Maybe a preference with Kirk Cousins.
yeah, that might be my bias though. I might if you take out my cousin's bias, it might be Daniel Jones just because he is younger
Yeah.
and I think doesn't have like there are disciplinary issues with Kyler, right? So he's out for
Yeah.
me.
So,
Kirk is older, right? And then
yep.
Malik Willis is just a guy who's never been the guy, whereas Daniel Jones has at least been the guy before.
Also, we forgot about Mac Jones in there, by the way.
Well, Mac Jones isn't a free agent. He is
Right, but
like you'd have to trade for Mac Jones. I'm talking about the guys that you can just go out and make an offer to.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. So, the interesting part too is we didn't include years, whereas Kyler and Kirk Cousins might be a 2 year potential 3 year deal, whereas Jones is looking for maybe a 5, 6 year. So that's the difference, I think. So it's like, yeah, I think the Colts are doing the right thing for their franchise. But could you imagine if they lowball Daniel Jones and be like, oh, someone offered 32, so we'll match that and pay him 32, and then he gets probably like 10 million less a year than he was going for, and then Daniel Jones has another great year next year. So it's like it's a little insulting, but at the same time you have to do this. And then what if Daniel Jones has a bad year next year, and you're like, well, look how good we did as a franchise or whatever. So I think this has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're going to sign him. I was just curious about the tag. Okay, let's move on then. There was one other tag I wanted to talk about. Brees Hall getting franchise tag. There was so much noise about Brees Hall's going to be traded last season, and not only did they not trade him, now they franchise tagged him. What do you guys think about that by the Jets? Is that just a typical Jet move, or do you like it?
Uh,
Jet's gonna jet.
yeah, Jets going Jet.
I mean, Jets
I,
are going to Jet, but let's keep in mind, like he was really good last year. Like in his defense,
yeah. Okay, so for me, this is tough because like Brees Hall might be their most talented player, but what's the use? This goes back to the Raiders last year. It's like, why do you draft Genty so early without an offensive line? It's like there's no point in paying this running back. Uh, it's the same thing with Brees Hall. Like, why are you going to pay him all this for him to go out there behind an offensive line and get destroyed? Out of all the things they've decided to do, to letting go an all-pro corner and Gardner, Q Williams, one of the best defensive tackles in the league, to the Cowboys, and like, oh, but we're gonna franchise tag Brees Hall. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Anyone? Did I cut out?
yeah, no, you're
Nothing
here.
for nothing further from me.
Um, like also like the running backs are like I hate to say this or whatever because the elite ones are rare, but like there's so many running backs out there that you can hand the ball to for like the league minimum. This is like the one position you're supposed to not pay or technically quote unquote pay last. Like the running back is supposed to be the final piece to the puzzle of an offense. Gone are the days where you go and get the franchise running back, your Jamal Lewis's, Deuce McAllister's, Curtis Martin, Sean Alexander's, and then you build around that and just have a workhorse running back. That's the opposite nowadays. You don't have a workhorse running back. You go out and pay all these other positions, and then you try and get the best running back you can to fill into that position. I hate to say bring it back to the Eagles, but the Eagles were contenders not because of Barkley. The Eagles were contenders because of how stacked their roster is, and then Barkley might have put them over the hump. They still might have won the Super Bowl with DeAndre Swift or whatever, but you can guarantee yourself a Super Bowl with a Barkley. You don't go out and pay your running back first like the Raiders and then start filling in the pieces. That doesn't work. The Jets are like, hey, let's take the playbook out of the Raiders playbook and not the Eagles, playbook is wild to me.
I don't know if I subscribe to that. Like after the last couple of seasons, I mean, I get what you're where you're going with that, Mitch, but I feel like the running back has had a little bit of a resurgence. So like, but my thing about the Jets gonna jet is it's just like, why are you franchise tagging the guy when you just have a trash team, right? Like, I don't think he's going to help your team. Uh, he's been on your team, it hasn't worked out, and so paying him all that money, what is it, average of top five,
Yeah.
is seems like a silly move when you don't even have a team around him. But I do think that like good teams need good running backs. Um, I don't necessarily think like they're the last piece. I think that they're an important piece, and I think we've seen more running backs do well. I mean, a lot of them are split backs these days, but I
Yeah.
think you are seeing teams shell out money for their running backs. I mean, look at Charbonnet and Ken Walker.
Yeah, but those guys weren't considered top. Those Ken Walker's not getting franchise tagged, let me tell you. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
and he should have been. But the Jets are going to franchise tag their running back. It's um when did the Lions when did they get Gibbs, right? Did they get Gibbs and then build around him, or was the Lions a stacked roster then they added Gibbs, right? Kyron Williams was not a high, go out and get this guy. He was added after the roster was really good. Look at Christian McCaffrey. The Niners built up that roster, then they went out and traded for McCaffrey. Um, then you flip side it and look at running backs like Devon Achane. Yeah, he's really good, but he's got nobody around him. You know what I mean? It's like it's the only one that's kind of hard to gauge is Bijan. It's like, did they already have that offensive line before Bijan? Yeah, but the offensive line was still young, so grabbing Bijan was still a little early. But like, they grabbed James Cook after they built that. They grabbed Derrick Henry after they built their Ravens team. They like went out and got Derrick Henry. Jonathan Taylor is the opposite. I guess he is the exception to the rule. So it's like a lot of these teams that are the top, considered the best teams in the league that are competing for a Super Bowl, like they went out and moved up in the draft to get RJ Harvey this year, the Broncos. They didn't already have a running, you know what I mean? It's like it seems that the recipe for a lot of these elite teams that are going for is the running back is the last piece. That's all I'm saying is I'm not saying you can't do it the other way, Chris, and I'm not saying go out and keep your good running back or anything, but it's like Jets, you don't even have a quarterback right now. So all these great teams in the league are giving you this template that like, hey, the running back is the kind of the last guy you add or whatever, but the Jets are at making it first. That's all I'm saying is like they're doing the opposite. And I don't, do you, but it's just weird. uh, it's the running back seems to be a lot of timing based off the GMs nowadays, as opposed to, hey, let's go and draft Genty fourth or fifth overall, and then him get just crushed all year. And then the next 3 years, we're going to go build an offensive line around Genty. And by that time, he's already 1,500 carries, after 3 years and X amount of hits. It's like, well, dang, you know what I mean? Like, what was the point of Genty? That's my fear. Let Brees Hall go to a contender. Let him actually play football, please. I know Vinny and Alex have hated my Brees Hall hate on this podcast. So if Brees Hall actually ever went to a contending team, then I would be like, yes, Brees Hall is an amazing, amazing guy. But the Jets, as Chris said, the Jets are going to jet. Who's their QB right now? You're going to go out and draft a second round QB and make him your starter and have Brees Hall be your featured player. Good luck with nine in the box.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but he did play really well this year. I mean, we'll see. I mean, but yeah, the Jets are going to jet. It also could just be he's the only guy who's going to put butts in the seats. All right, let's move on to the next one. Then this one's not a tag so much as just we've been talking about wide receivers and we kind of didn't talk about him enough. Let's talk about Mike Evans. Where do you think he lands? This is a guy who, quite frankly, has been a stud for a decade. The one knock on him is he's going to miss 4 or 5 games.
Just casually is not going to play most of the season.
Well, no. It's not most of the season. It's only like a few games. Like, let me pull up his stats here. Like, he plays most of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
And keep in mind, these guys aren't playing fantasy football. They're playing real football. So as long as he's available in the playoffs is what they care about. You know what I mean?
uh, the only thing I've have not heard much on this. None of my podcasts touched much on Mike Evans. He's not releasing much information, which lets me know that he's trying his hardest to come back to Tampa. The only other suitors I can like that are coming into my head and like I'd have to really think about it is like it's got to be. I mean, I hate saying the Bills, but it's got to be like the Chargers or the Niners. Someone who thinks they're 1 or 2 games away from winning, need that, can't rely on Keenan Allen, third and Keenan, you know what I mean, for the whole year as proven. So it's like if you can split between Allen and Mike Evans, just one of them be healthy at one time, you know what I mean? That seems pretty deadly to me. And then him on the Niners would also seem pretty deadly to me because let's be real here. They don't have a true one. Kittles is a one, but he's also injury prone and he's a tight end. Tight ends have certain responsibilities that wide receivers can't. So it's like they don't have a true one. So unless you think McConkey is a true one, Chargers or the Niners are the ones that come to my head. But again, he's not releasing much info for the public.
It's interesting because like you look at what Devonte Adams is doing in LA, and you can see like a team potentially trying to do that, right? Like Mike Evans is the ideal guy who would be like a great red zone target for a team that wants to convert more in the red zone with the passing game. Um, yeah, what I'm saying is based on like zero knowledge or education, but like imagine him on a Lions team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
Like you
one.
have, you know, like you have Puka Nacua on the Rams, and like he's obviously their wide receiver one, and Devontae Adams has no issue like being I don't know if you call it a support role or like 1A, 1B role, but I think if Mike Evans goes anywhere, he's like perfect for that 1B role at this point in his career.
Yeah, for sure. That would be interesting if he would go to someone like the Lions because that's another team that's like one step away. For him to be coming in and be like the designated number two, that's very interesting. If he does that, that's gonna make a team a lot better. I was thinking more where he can like compete for maybe the one spot and like the Chargers or the Niners. I think he could actually be the one guy on those two teams. But yeah, if he goes to the Lions, whew, that's gonna be, Goff might move up in some fantasy rankings.
I mean, I feel like Goff is just super undervalued. Like this is 2 years in a row he's been top six, top seven QB. And I purposely had the word top in there to not have those numbers next to each other. Um, like when are we just gonna believe in Goff?
Same way it's
Yeah,
like
it's
when
like
do we
when's
believe in
Mitch going to believe
Stafford?
in Stafford?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Same as
yeah,
like
that's never gonna happen.
he
But
he got Devonte Adams last year and nobody drafted Stafford. No one even picked up Stafford until week five free agency
No,
when
no,
Lamar went out.
I've got something to say about that. The Rams were playing it super close to the chest. They were talking about Stafford retiring. They were saying he was having back issues. That's why nobody drafted him. Everyone had no idea what was going on with Matt Stafford's health.
While at the same time, Puka's being drafted as a top three fantasy wide receiver, and Evans is being drafted as a top. No, I mean, sorry. Adams is being drafted as a top 14. I think he went 13th in ours or whatever. So you have two fantasy wide receivers being drafted top 12. That quarterback should be on everyone's radar, regardless of back problems. There's no way Adams
Hey, you guys
and
there?
Puka. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me,
I
Alex?
I, I cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, I might have cut out too. I don't know if Alex is there or not. But what
I'm
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 trying to say
here.
is, oh yeah, yeah. So like Vinny and I have this discussion all the time. There's one or two things can't be true. Adams and Puka both can't be top 12 ranked wide receivers, and then Stafford be a bum or even average. Like, find me QBs that put up two top 12 wide receivers, and those QBs are always drafted as elite fantasy players. Like, what's his name in Cincinnati? Burrow is putting up probably the number one fantasy wide receiver and then probably the number nine. And Burrow's going one, two, or three in all leagues last year. Then we've got Puka being drafted one, two, or three, and then Adams being dropped 12, and Stafford's not even being drafted. Do you see the discrepancy? That's what
Yeah,
my
yeah, I
issue
get what you're
is.
saying. I steered clear of Rams players because I had no idea what was going on with Matt Stafford. But
Right, but then
it's probably why I didn't have a good season.
Yeah, but Adam almost wins or goes to the fantasy playoffs with the Puka Adams combo. So it's like, yeah, let's say Evans goes to a team like this is back to the Lions comparison. Sorry, I'm getting a little off, but like let's say Evans does go to like that or whatever. It's like Evans and St. Brown both can't be predicted top 12, and then Goff be predicted to be average. That's what I'm trying to say is like if Evans does go there, this has to be the Stafford treatment where like, hey, both these guys, wide receivers, aren't going to be top 12, or Goff is going to be a top four fantasy QB because statistically, to put a wide receiver as in a top three spot and a top 12 spot, you are going to be a top three or four fantasy QB. It's just a fact. There's no such thing as a QB being 12th overall and has two wide receivers in the top, you know what I mean? Top. It never happens. It's impossible. So I'm
Yeah, I
just
mean, I follow the logic. I do.
right, right. So that's what I'm trying to say is if like if there's someone like a Goff or whatever situation and Evans is being predicted, either Evans and St. Brown aren't going to be top 12 or Goff is going to be a top 4 fantasy QB. That's what I'm saying. Is like we cannot pass on, oh, Stafford might be a back, but these two wide receivers are going to be good. That's what I'm trying to say is like it's got to be one or the other. We can't draft those
I
wide
get what you're
receivers.
saying. I
Yeah,
get what you're saying, but I'm telling you that I did not draft Puka Nakua, and I was concerned about his production because of Matt Stafford.
for sure. But you're not concerned about anyone's production if it came to like Goff. It was just the back story.
What do you mean?
So like, let's say there was no backstory with Bradford Stafford. Sorry, I keep mixing up names because I'm terrible at names. But let's say there was no backstory. Would Stafford and Puka have been appropriately ranked for you?
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm cutting out again.
No, it's all good. I'm just trying to say is like you were saying the backstory. You
You
said
guys
it
there?
wouldn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're here.
we're here.
I
Hello?
guess my question, Chris, and if you're cutting out, it's no big deal, and I'll just pose it to the podcast or whatever. Is like if
Yeah, no, I cut out, so I didn't hear anything after you said like, what if there was no backstory with Matt Stafford and Puka Nakua?
Yeah, so what if there is none there? Like, would how would have your feelings been towards Stafford, Adams, and Puka if like everyone was like, Stafford's healthy, he's ready to go, he's great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, then I think that Puka would have been like in my book, Puka would have been higher than what I had him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I Devontae Adams, I wasn't so sure about him. So
But you are more sure about Evans, is what I'm trying to get at.
in what context? If he was on the Lions?
Yeah, let's say wherever Evans goes or whatever, like the same way Adams went. You probably brought up the Rams going, Devontae going to the Rams or whatever. So if
Oh
Evans falls,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if Evans ends up on a team like the Lions or a team where he's the
the
1B,
Rams, yeah,
I think he's a great pick. I mean,
okay,
the dude's gonna post numbers. Like he's gonna maybe not the yards, but the TDs are gonna be there.
gotcha.
Like look at his TDs in like on most seasons. I mean, he's double digit TDs in one, two, three, four of the last six seasons. Really, for the last five because last year doesn't count.
Right.
That's nuts.
It's also worth noting that it wasn't as much that people were down on Devontae as they were down on Stafford. Like there was so much around Stafford at the start of the season, so much unknown around Stafford that people avoided that. If Mike
Right.
Evans goes to a situation where there's no ambiguity, no question mark at what's at quarterback, I think you're going to see a lot more people be willing to pull the trigger on him, right? Like
Yeah.
if he were to go to, even say a Seattle, right? Like we've seen Darnold beat Addison and Jefferson in the past as a Viking. If he goes to Seattle, like I think people are going to be fine taking Mike Evans because he's a completely different type of player than JSN, right? I think people
Yeah.
might be willing to take him. Whereas if he goes somewhere like the Browns, you're like, all right, I don't know about this. So I think it just depends on where he
So he has
goes.
a better chance of being a 1B on a really, really good team than he does being a 1 on a bad team.
Yeah,
I think so.
exactly.
Interesting.
I think that that's
Interesting.
how. I mean, if I'm Evans, that's what I'm searching for.
I mean, don't get
It
me
would
wrong.
be crazy at this point.
There's
He won
also
a Super
there's
Bowl
also the
already.
world where Mike Evans goes to the Eagles, right, in
Uh,
AJ Brown's place, and then you're really high on Evans.
yeah, it's interesting to me because he's won his Super Bowl. Like, what's he going for? He's playing for stats, right? To accumulate to be one of the best wide receivers ever. Is he really going somewhere to win? So wouldn't that be more of an
I don't
inclination
think
that he,
I think when you get this late in your career, you want to win, right? Like he
'Even though
100%.
you've already
if he
won?
had if his streak was still going, there might be like some consideration, but his streak's over now, right?
Yeah,
So like I think yeah, you go somewhere you want to win, and I think he probably wants to stay in Tampa Bay if he can.
yeah. It's just interesting to me that it's like he's already won, right? So like Diggs, it's obvious, right? He's going to team hop until he gets a ring, like Carl Malone or Gary Payton did. So it's like I know it's a bad example, but Evans, it's confusing to me because he's already loved. He's already got the Hall of Fame instant first ballot or whatever as a wide receiver is crazy to have. So it's like if he goes and wins another Super Bowl, does that affect his Hall of Fame status? I'm not sure. Like,
No, I think Mike Evans is gonna be first ballot Hall of Famer regardless.
okay, so that's my point, Alex, is like he's not going somewhere to win. Like, for example, Cup. Cup just won another Super Bowl, but people are probably not even going to remember him winning with the Seahawks, right? So if he goes somewhere else and is 1B to a JSN like Cooper Cup and wins a Super Bowl somewhere, I don't think that really affects his Hall of Fame legacy because he's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. So what is he going to another team for? To win? Doesn't really affect his career. That's what my concern with is like he might just go to a team to accumulate as much stats as he can.
There's a difference between like being on a winning team that has a potential to win a Super Bowl and going somewhere just to collect stats, right? Like if
Sure.
he just wants to collect stats, I mean, I just don't see that happening with a lot of wide receivers. The only one that I can think of who did it somewhat recently was Devontae Adams when he went to the Raiders, to play with his buddy, his quarterback from college, and basically try to prove a point to the whole world that I can do it without Rodgers, right? But
Right.
outside of that, like a lot of these guys in their career, like I know they number one, they want to win, and number two, I think, obviously having more Super Bowl rings is nice, but I think he wants to go somewhere where like his excellence is going to be, I guess, valued.
His
And not
longevity,
saying that like on
perhaps.
a bad team it wouldn't be valued, but he probably wants to go somewhere where you have all of like the winning, what do you call it? Like the winning intangibles or the winning structure in place, right? He doesn't strike me as a guy who is just going to go to some scrub team that's in disarray with some scrub owners just because he wants to post more stats.
Yeah, I think you guys are severely, well, not used as much, but Mitch, I think you're really underestimating the competitive nature of NFL players. Like, yes, there's some people who just want to get the bag. They're just out there for the money. I don't think that, like, that's not who this guy is to me. The guys who set these streaks, it's because they're competitors. They want to play. They want to be the best. So he's going to want to win. Right? Now I don't know what that looks like. I don't think he wants to, like, you were talking Stephon Diggs. I don't think he's going to go like sign a veteran minimum contract to play for the Chiefs or anything. But I think
Okay.
he wants to win. Like he thinks he's worth the money, so he's going to try to get money. But I think he wants to go to a contender and have a chance to win. I don't think we're going to see him go out and sign with the Raiders. Let's just be real. Like, I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I think he's going to sign with someone where he has a chance to compete because he is a competitor.
Um, right. So the Texans, you consider them competitors, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. How about like the Giants?
I mean, not as much as I think they are. I mean, they were the second worst team in the league last year. So I think the Giants are a couple years away. I think
So
he's
you
more
would
likely to
never
sign.
consider the Giants.
I'm not saying he would never consider the Giants. I just think they're a couple of years away. So I don't think that would be a top priority for him.
Do you consider the Commanders competitors?
More so than the Giants, yes.
Would so if he chose somewhere like the Commanders, is that because he's trying to win, or is that because he knows he'd be the number one guy with Jaden on a great offense?
I think wherever he goes, it will be because he's trying to win. I do think he wants to be a number
Interesting.
one because he believes of himself to be a number one. But I think he
Yeah.
wants to win, right? Like, keep in mind like how you evaluate, because like in these guys' heads, the reason they're so good is because they believe they are the best. Whether or not
Right.
that's true, they believe that, right? So he's going to go somewhere. He's going to expect to be the number one because he believes he's the best player. I I don't know Devonte Adams, but I bet if you asked him before the season when he went to the Rams if he thought he'd be wide receiver one, wide receiver two, he'd say wide receiver one.
It'll be interesting to me for me because like someone like the Ravens are probably going to offer him money, but then why wouldn't someone like the Cardinals offer him money or the Saints or the Titans, right? So it'll be
Well, they,
interesting for
they
me.
might
And
offer him money. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to take that money. If
right, that's what I'm saying is it'll be interesting for me to see if he passes on 8 or 9 million less a year to go to a Ravens instead of Saints. That's what I'm basically getting at with Mike Evans
I
because
can
he's already won.
100% see that happening. I
Okay,
think
see,
that's
that's
more
what I think.
likely.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's what I'm trying to discrepancy is like I don't know if I see that because he's already won and he's already yeah. All right, interesting, interesting. And maybe I don't know Mike Evans.
I mean, I don't either. This is
I
all
mean, I
speculation.
mean, none of us do.
Yeah, it's all
Right.
speculation.
Well,
I just like you seem to be thinking like he's doing this for his legacy. Like I don't think he needs to
I
do
think
anything for
so.
his legacy.
Gotcha.
He already has like has this record that he's tied Jerry Rice with, like, as like one of the greatest wide receiver records of all time. He's already got a
Yeah.
legacy. He's already got a ring. He's already going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's already made plenty of money, right?
Yeah.
So, which thing motivates him the most? I don't know in a vacuum, but what I do know in general is people who are professional athletes who are at the top of their game, like who are the best of the best professional athletes, they're there
Yeah.
because they're competitors. Say what you will about, Kobe versus Jordan, right? The one thing no one can argue with is those guys wanted to compete, right? I don't
Yeah,
like
for
Kobe
sure.
Bryant
They were
as a
terrible
person,
teammates.
and I think Michael Jordan has done some heinous things as well, but you can't argue with the fact that they were competitors and wanted to win.
Yeah, they're the ultimate
And
competitors, and
and
they were
and
terrible
I
teammates.
think that guys like Mike Evans fit into that category. He's a competitor and he wants to win.
Um, okay. Do you okay? So like that's the question. The question for me is like he okay. So you can go to the Ravens, right? And then potentially do. Yeah, it's just tough. I don't want to make this the Mike Evans podcast, but it's like there's only one team that's going to win a Super Bowl every year, and if Evans thinks he's only got 1 year left or whatever, the statistical chances of winning that Super Bowl are a lot lower than just going out and picking a team you can have a good year with.
I'm not
That's what I'm saying with Evans.
I'm not saying that Mike Evans is trying to get a crystal ball and figure out who's going to win and who needs him on that team and making decisions based on that. But I also
Okay.
don't see Mike Evans walking into any sort of dysfunctional team. And by dysfunction, I mean either
The
ownership,
Titans.
general management, coaching, like whatever, right? I do not see him walking into a situation like that and playing for a team like that. I think that just based on like what we're talking about, players who demand excellence, I don't think he's trying to change the culture of a locker room, but I think he probably wants to go somewhere if he's not going to be in Tampa Bay to somewhere where that's already in place.
See, but that's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were for 8 years, and he never left until Brady came. Like he could have left multiple times. He was on a terrible franchise. The Bucks were considered one of the worst franchises ever, and he was the only good part about that franchise for about a decade. And he decided to stay. So it's like
But
that's what I'm.
again, that
Yeah.
speaks to his character of staying with the team that drafted him.
True, but that's what I'm saying is now you got Tom Brady calling you up and saying, "Hey, you want to come here? We'll make you the number one, and we'll guarantee you, 12 targets a game, seven receptions, and over 1,000 yards." Versus
With
if you
this,
go
with this, yeah, with Cuban Jesus named Fernando Mendoza.
for Cuban Jesus Fernando Mendoza, sure. Okay, maybe the Raiders wasn't the greatest. Maybe more like the Titans or the Saints was the better because their QB is a little bit more established. But that's what I'm saying is like you've already chosen to pick for the lesser franchises. I know the Bucks drafted you and you're loyal and everything like that. So I know that's different, Chris. What you're saying is I 100% agree. But it's like you already did that for 8 years on a bad franchise and then got super lucky. Mike Evans, not Mike, Tom Brady was like, hey, because of how good Mike Evans and Godwin is, the Bucks are and Bruce Arians, the Bucks are an actual destination for me. When everyone and their mother would have been like, no way in a year from now Tom Brady's going to be a Buccaneer, and no way in 2 years from now they're going to win a Super Bowl. So like Mike Evans was part of that, like why Tom Brady went there. Yeah, it's just maybe I have a wrong understanding of who Mike Evans is. It's no big deal. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if he turns down
It,
like 8 or extra million a year to go to a better winning team.
it is super interesting that we all have our opinions on like who Mike Evans is.
Yeah, no, I do like Mike Evans. Let's state this for the record. I drafted Mike Evans for like 3 or 4 years in fantasy until Alex snaked him for like 4 years straight. So Mike Evans has only belonged to Alex and I in our DoD fantasy league because it's literally just me taking him in the third round or Alex taking him in the third round, depending on where Alex or I draft on the snake order. But that's literally it. So Alex and I both like Mike Evans and big Evans fans, but yeah, we both don't know him, so it's hard to. But Evans will always go down as one of my more favorite fantasy football players, especially in non-PPR leagues. He's so undervalued.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He is. Do you think he'll ask to trade wives and children when he gets traded?
I do not. I do not think that's going to come up.
Does he even have wife
I
and
don't know.
children?
I just realized that when I said that, I was like, oh, he probably doesn't even.
I mean, it says something that we don't know that, right?
True.
It says something about like who he is as a person.
So, okay, so I have to go on hard out. Speaking of not knowing that, great segue into my favorite player. Would you rather know right now? This is a question to you guys, and then I gotta go. Seriously, would you rather know the team Aaron Rodgers is going to play for next year, or who his wife is?
I don't give two shits about
What?
who his wife
Yeah,
is.
dude. What?
Really?
What? I have zero. I didn't know he's married. I don't care.
That's the whole point. Is he's kept it a secret for over
Well,
a year
good
now.
for him. I don't care. I don't.
Okay,
This isn't
okay.
E, man. I'm not an E. This isn't like Watch What Happens Live
TMZ
with
TMZ
Bravo.
has
Like,
been a network for a long time, Alex, for a reason. Okay, it's not because it's boring and lame. Okay, as TMZ has been around for a specific reason. I was, obviously joking around. I was not being totally serious, but would you rather know where he's playing next year or who his wife is? I don't know. I think I'd rather pick the wife, and then I'll figure out who he plays for next year. You guys have no interest who Aaron Rodgers is married to? Zero.
zero.
Wow.
None. None
What if,
whatsoever.
all right, what if I said Kyler Murray or something like that? Who do I gotta
I
say to
have
get you
no
guys
interest
interested?
in who any player is married to. I
Well,
just care
Kyler
about
is married
the
to his
sport.
Xbox for
Yeah,
sure.
for
And
sure.
I have my opinions about what Kyler does for a living, so but I'll keep them to myself because
Okay,
I'm
well,
trying
what
not
if
to get
you
this
were, okay,
canceled.
let me rephrase it. Not, what if you weren't Alex or Chris? What if you were a NFL media news reporter for whatever city? Doesn't matter. Would you rather know right now who he's married to or what team he's going to sign
What team
for?
he's playing for? That'd be a huge breaking story.
Yeah, seriously.
Uh,
You're not. I'm sorry, bro. You're not gonna get us on that. We're just not. You need to be talking to the wives and not the dudes on this one. I think.
hey, you know what? I'm trying to be all inclusive podcast, okay? I'm trying to widen our demographic over here. So
Yeah, from 3 to 4, huh?
to 3.5 back down.
All right. What?
Um,
Any? I
all
know
right.
you. I know you guys got to go. So, any final thoughts before we wrap this up and don't become an Aaron Rodgers wife pod?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We did Mike Evans for like 20 minutes
Yeah,
and
because that was
okay.
football news.
Yeah, well, the year Rodgers got married, he ended up being back-to-back MVP the next 2 years. So just throwing it out there.
I'm just gonna this will be my out World Baseball Classic is
Okay.
the next 2 weeks. Team USA, let's go.
Yeah, I like the really quick. I do have to go about. I'm glad you brought it up, Chris. I looked at their roster, and I actually liked their roster. They picked an actual team instead of just like everyone's most popular player from each city. They actually picked. They passed on a significant portion of stars to actually, get some left-handed, right-handed hitters that they can alternate in the lineup. So it does look like USA is going to play this, for real, instead of make it, like a, what do you want to call it? Like a just, revenue thing or whatever. I like
I
that,
mean,
Chris. I
how
like
can
that.
you not after losing to Japan in the finals?
Yeah, for sure. After
You
that,
know?
they're like, we need to actually feel the real team.
Yeah.
What's more embarrassing for the US? Because Canada lost hockey to the US. What's more embarrassing for the US? Losing in baseball or basketball?
Basketball. There are a
Basketball.
lot of other countries that play baseball.
So the USA loses to Japan would not be as embarrassing if USA lost to Spain or France.
No, not at all.
Oh, interesting. Even though baseball is
I mean,
technically our pastime, like hockey is for Canada.
Baseball is called America's pastime, but when you look at like the talent level and the skill level around the world, like so many countries play baseball. Like think about
Right.
who's the best player in baseball? It's a Japanese dude,
Right,
right?
but
The best
Alex,
player in the major leagues is from Japan.
doesn't Canada have that same viewpoint about hockey that like, hey, it's our sport, but look how good the rest of the world is? I mean, there's people in Eastern Europe that live and breathe hockey. So it's kind of like the same concept, right? With us in baseball, it's like, hey, it's our pastime, hockey's their pastime. The rest of the world is definitely caught up to us. But like the Canadians lost to us in their sport. Imagine we lose to the Canadians in the Baseball World Classic. Oh my gosh.
this is the reason I say basketball over baseball is like look at the best players in baseball
Yeah,
and like a lot of them are international, right?
yeah,
Like and I know that like a lot of the top players in the NBA draft as of late have been coming from like Europe and the other countries,
yeah.
but at the same time, it is an American dominated sport. Like you just look at the level of play between NBA and every other league in the world. Whereas
Yeah.
I think like the US, like in baseball and MLB, they love like taking the best players out of Japan, right?
For
Like
sure.
even Korea, which is a tiny country, like they like taking the star players out of there too because like they're good players. And I feel like with basketball, it requires like certain attributes that you don't necessarily see in countries like Asia, right?
For sure, for sure. I get that point. That's a great point. I will do 2 points, and I seriously have to go after this. I apologize. One is if you asked who the NHL number one overall pick was, it is a American from Phoenix, Arizona, named Austin Matthews. That is like you say that to a Canadian, and they'd be like, "Dang, times have changed." So that's like the same thing as baseball. Like, hey, the number one overall player is from whatever Japan, whatever I don't know the city. And then two, in the NBA, Chris, if I asked you when's the last time an American won MVP of the league, what would you guess and who?
Oh, shit. I almost said Steve Nash. I didn't realize
Yeah,
he was
you're
Canadian.
closer than not. I promise you.
Kobe
And that's just
Bryant?
Canadian. No, it's a lot closer than that. It's 2015, but yeah,
Okay.
2015, and it's James Harden,
Okay.
15-16 season. It's been almost a decade or over a decade since an Americans won MVP of the NBA. So yes, I do agree that the basketball might be more embarrassing. I don't think it's that far off. And Alex, I love doing these podcasts with you. Chris, I'm glad you're here. I gotta go, guys. See ya.
Later, Skater. Chris, any final thoughts before we
Yeah.
wrap the pod?
No, I just want to thank everyone for dealing with my uneducated opinions on the show.
I mean,
Oh
they
no,
deal with
it's fun
all of our
having you.
uneducated opinions
Yeah.
every episode.
You also help steer our. It's nice having people on because then it steers our uneducated opinions closer to educated.
All right. Good hearing from you, boys.
Bye, guys.
Later, fellas. All right, Delvers. I hope you
Later.
enjoyed it. We'll be back next week with some more Aaron Rodgers' wife content. Lord, I hope not. But with Mitch involved, you really truly never know. And we outie.